I have seen arrogance enter my courtroom many times, but nothing prepared me for the morning. Victoria Kingsley walked in as if the law itself was beneath her. She was 24, wearing a cream designer dress, carrying an expensive purse, and hiding behind sunglasses she did not bother to remove. She did not look afraid. She did not look sorry. She looked annoyed. Her father, Edward Kingsley, was the billionaire CEO of Kingsley Technologies. His family name was on hospitals, charity boards, and buildings downtown. Victoria had grown up in a world where money solved problems before they touched her. That morning, she clearly expected the same thing to happen in court. But in my courtroom, wealth means nothing. Evidence means everything. The file was clear. Victoria Kingsley had been charged with reckless driving, leaving the scene of an accident and obstruction. She had slammed her luxury SUV into the back of a minivan at a red light. Inside that minivan was Nora Patel, a hospice nurse and single mother, driving her 2 children to school after an overnight shift. Instead of stopping, Victoria stepped out, looked at the damage, insulted the vehicle, and drove away. Traffic cameras captured the entire thing. Victoria arrived 20 minutes late. Her attorney came in first, apologizing again and again. Victoria followed slowly, heels clicking across the floor, moving like the courtroom was wasting her time. Nora sat in the third row in hospital scrubs, tired but composed, watching the woman who had harmed her family act like none of it mattered. "Miss Kingsley," I said, "was there a reason you were late?" She removed her sunglasses. Traffic was bad, no apology, no respect, not even your honor. Her attorney stood quickly. "Your Honor, we sincerely apologize. It will not happen again." I kept my eyes on Victoria. This is a courtroom, not a social appointment. When you are ordered to appear at 9, you appear at 9. Do you understand? She shrugged. Sure, that one word told me everything. Then I noticed her hand under the table. "Put the phone away." She looked up. "I'm checking something important." "There is nothing more important than this proceeding." "Put it away now." She sighed and dropped it into her purse. Her attorney cleared his throat. "Your Honor, if we could move forward, my client has another commitment this afternoon." Another commitment. As if hit-and-run charges were just another item on her schedule. "Counselor," I said, "your client is facing serious charges. She will remain here until this court is finished." Victoria leaned toward him, whispered sharply, then ignored his warning. "With all due respect," she said, "this is being exaggerated. It was a fender bender. Insurance will pay for it." A fender bender. Nora's minivan was totaled. Her children were terrified. She missed work and lost wages, but Victoria spoke as if money could erase fear. I turned to the monitor. "Let us watch what happened." The footage appeared. Victoria's SUV waited behind Nora's minivan at a red light. Suddenly, it lurched forward and crashed into the back of the van. Nora got out, shaken and bleeding slightly, then checked on her children. Victoria stepped out, looked at the damage, and said words the microphone caught clearly enough. "Whatever, it was junk anyway." Then she got back in, drove around the minivan, and left. The courtroom went silent. I looked at Victoria. "Do you remember saying that?" She shifted. "Not really. I was stressed." "You called her vehicle junk." Her mouth curled. "Well, it kind of was." A gasp moved through the courtroom. Her attorney lowered his head. That was when I knew this was not only about a crash. It was about a person who had never been taught that other people matter. I stood. "Miss Kingsley, you watched yourself leave an accident scene, and your response is to insult the victim's car?" "I didn't mean it that way." "Then explain it." "My car is worth more." "So the damage to hers was not the same." I paused. "Because your car cost more, the harm you caused mattered less." She hesitated. "Basically," her attorney jumped up. "Your Honor, may I speak with my client?" "Sit down. She is speaking clearly." I turned back to Victoria. "Tell me what happened that morning." She sighed. "I was late for a meeting. I meant to brake, but I hit the gas. It was an accident. And when you saw children inside, I checked. They seemed fine. They were crying. Kids cry over everything." Nora made a small sound from the gallery. "Those children had nightmares after the crash," I said. "The youngest became afraid to ride in cars." Victoria answered instantly. "That sounds like their mother made it worse." The courtroom erupted. The bailiff called for order. I waited for silence. "You are blaming a mother for her children's fear after you hit their car and drove away." "I'm saying kids take cues from parents. If she stayed calm, maybe they would have been fine." I opened the police report. "After leaving the scene, you drove to your country club. You had lunch, you played golf, you did not call police." You did not contact insurance for 3 days, correct? I needed time to process. You needed time to process while Miss Patel had no vehicle, missed work, and had two frightened children. That is what insurance is for. Insurance you ignored. I was busy. Doing what? I had events. My life does not stop because someone's van got dented. I looked at her record. Speeding tickets. A red light citation. A previous reckless driving offense reduced by lawyers. This was not one mistake. This was a pattern. Miss Kingsley, this is not your first traffic offense. Everyone speeds sometimes. Not everyone leaves an accident. I didn't run. I left. You left without exchanging information. That is hit and run. It is a crime. Her expression hardened. My father's lawyer said this would be dismissed. There it was. Someone had told her the law would bend. Your father's lawyer is not deciding this case, I said. I am, but my family's standing in the community. Stop. I do not care about your family's standing. I do not care who your father is or how much money your family donates. In this courtroom, you are a defendant who broke the law. For the first time, Victoria looked afraid. I reached for Nora Patel's victim statement. Before sentencing, you will hear what your actions did. I began to read. My name is Nora Patel. I am a single mother of two children, ages 7 and 9. On March 15th, I was stopped at a red light after working overnight at the hospital. I was taking my children to school when Victoria Kingsley's SUV hit us from behind. The courtroom became still. The impact threw me forward. My head hit the steering wheel. My daughter Lily screamed. My son Aaron cried and asked if we were going to die. I got out, shaking and bleeding. I walked toward the woman who hit us. She looked at me. She saw my children. Then she drove away. Victoria stared at the table. For 3 days, I did not know who hit us. My minivan was totaled. I could not afford a rental. I missed work. My children missed school. The worst part was not money. The worst part was fear. Lily wakes up crying. Aaron asks every morning if another car will hit us. They lost their sense of safety because someone could not be bothered to stop. I continued. I work in hospice care. I help people through pain and fear every day. The person who hit me showed my family no compassion. She looked at my children and left. I lowered. The paper. That is what you did, Miss Kingsley. You looked at a frightened mother and two terrified children, and you chose convenience over decency. Victoria whispered. I didn't know they were that scared. You did not stay long enough to know. Her attorney tried to interrupt. Your Honor, my client has expressed. Your client has expressed excuses and entitlement. Now she will hear accountability. I straightened the file. Victoria Kingsley, I find you guilty of leaving the scene of an accident involving property damage and injury. Considering your conduct, your record, and your lack of remorse, this court imposes the following sentence. Her face went pale. You will serve 60 days in county jail, she gasped. You can't. I can, and I am. Her attorney objected, but I continued. Your driver's license is suspended for 1 year. You will complete 200 hours of community service at County General Hospital where Ms. Patel works. You will pay full restitution for her vehicle, medical expenses, lost wages, and therapy for her children. Victoria began to cry, but they were not tears of remorse. They were the tears of someone discovering consequence. Her attorney said, Your Honor, this is excessive. She has no criminal record. She has a pattern of reckless behavior and no accountability. This sentence is not meant to destroy her. It is meant to stop her before she destroys someone else. I looked at Victoria. You said you had commitments. Commitment is a mother working all night and still taking her children to school. Commitment is stopping when you hurt someone. Commitment is accepting responsibility when your actions damage another life. She covered her face. You left because you believed you could, because money had always softened the fall. But justice does not belong to the wealthy. It belongs to the truth. I picked up the gavel. When you sit in that jail cell, think about Lily and Aaron. Think about their fear. Think about the 5 minutes you refused to give them. Maybe then you will understand that privilege does not make you untouchable. It makes you responsible. The gavel came down. Take her into custody. The bailiffs approached. Victoria turned to the gallery, panic breaking through her pride. Daddy, please do something. Edward Kingsley stood slowly. Everyone expected him to intervene. Instead, he looked at his daughter with deep disappointment. Victoria, he said, you did this to yourself. Then he sat down. The bailiffs led her away. Her expensive heels clicked against the floor, each step taking her farther from the protected world she had mistaken for reality. I turned to Nora. Ms. Patel, would you like to say anything? She stood with quiet strength. Your Honor, I do not take pleasure in seeing anyone punished. But my children needed to know that what happened to us mattered. My daughter asked if rich people have different rules. She is 7 years old and I did not know how to answer. Her voice steadied. Now I can tell her everyone is supposed to follow the same law. Now I can tell her justice still exists. Applause rose through the courtroom. I allowed it for a moment. When the room quieted, Edward Kingsley approached. Your Honor, I want to apologize. Not to excuse my daughter, but to acknowledge my failure. My wife and I gave her everything except accountability. His voice broke. I would like to create a fund for Miss Patel's children, for therapy and education, not to reduce Victoria's sentence. Only because it is right. Nora looked at him. That is not necessary. No, he said softly, but it should have been our instinct from the beginning. A father was finally learning that protecting a child from consequence does not save them. It weakens them. Months later, I received updates. Victoria served every day. At first, she demanded special treatment. But in county jail, no one cared about her last name. Then something changed. At County General, she worked around people who spent their lives caring for strangers. Nora did not lecture her. She simply worked with dignity. Slowly, Victoria listened. By the end of her hours, she asked if she could keep volunteering. Not because the court ordered it, because she wanted to. 6 months after sentencing, Victoria returned to my courtroom. Not as a defendant, but as someone changed. Your Honor, she said, I hated you that day. I thought you were cruel. But you forced me to see who I was becoming. The arrogance was gone. I did not save you, I told her. You started saving yourself when you stopped blaming everyone else. She nodded. I am applying to nursing school. I want to help people for real. That is what justice should be, not revenge. Transformation, Nora rebuilt her life. Her children began healing. Victoria learned that character cannot be bought, inherited, or protected by influence. It is built when a person finally faces the harm they caused. Victoria Kingsley entered my courtroom believing money could carry her above the law. She left knowing no bank account is larger than responsibility, no family name is stronger than truth, and no person is too important to stop when they have hurt someone.